Good evening, everyone, and welcome to FadeFlix Live. Thank you for joining us again this week. Last week we had the opportunity to do a great haircut method, the control method. This week we're going to do a great haircut method, but we're going to do our precision method. But before we begin, of course, I want to thank FadeFlix Live for having me again this week, as well as thanking the magnificent crew that we have behind the scenes. This is a project that was taken on to be able to share education, and at this point share it in a key word is for free. The only thing that we're asking that you do is subscribe. Go onto YouTube, subscribe to FadeFlix Live, and then also remember to hit the bell, and in that way, whenever FadeFlix Live uploads anything, then you're able to get the notification. We're always having little giveaways or things of that nature, plus the education that we're providing is priceless. So make sure that you follow FadeFlix Live, and also don't forget the hashtag. That way as well, that goes hand in hand with a lot of the giveaways that we give out. Make sure that you hashtag FadeFlix Live, and make sure you hashtag a great haircut method. So as I said before, what we're going to do, and before we start again, let me thank Tito for being my model for today. We're going to do a similar method, but if you recall, if you were watching last week, what we did is we did the control method, which had different tiers or levels to it. And we worked separately in each level until the haircut was done. In this particular method, a great haircut method, precision, we're going to pretty much work in just one level. It's going to be right about right here. We're going to work in that level right here. There's going to be a level underneath, which is going to be simple for us to basically finish off with, and then we're going to have one at the top. But our main level that we're going to be working in is going to be right here in the middle. It's going to give us a different feel as well, a different type of fade. Just sit tight, watch exactly how we do it, and see exactly how the haircut comes out. I'm going to actually start with a 1.5 guard. And the reason why I'm going to start with that 1.5 guard, I'm looking at the hair. And as I said, I always say hair speaks. If you look here on the top, I want to say Tito has maybe a 4 or 4.5 on top. We're going to cut this down to a 3. So because I know that we're going to cut this down to a 3, and then also this portion of the haircut here is going to be skin, then here in the middle I have to make a decision of what guard that I would use to clear it out. And that guard would definitely be a 1.5, because I can put a 1.5 here, then go directly into my 2, into my 3, and then on the bottom of the 1.5 would of course be the 1, the half, and the skin. So I basically carved the haircut out right in the middle to figure out what my guard I would be using to create the section that I want to start in. So the clipper that I'm going to be using is going to be my Oyster Turbo 111s, and I'm going to use, as I said before, my 1.5 guard to do that. Okay. So right here in the middle, we get power to do that. One key thing that you always want to do when you're cutting, is you want to make sure that you have power. If you don't have power, you can't cut the clippers on. All right, here we go. A 1.5, I'm coming right here in this particular section, and I'm going to take this pretty much all the way up to the parietal ridge. It's very important, just as in the control method, that you make sure that the section that you're carving out, that the section is clear. And it's very important that you make sure that you're creating a straight line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this haircut up into 2 parts. On one portion I'm going to fade up, and on the other portion I'm going to fade down. I know that there are different types of techniques, but there are different ways that people like to do it. Some people like to go up, and some people like to go down. So I'm going to show you that whichever way that you prefer to fade, that this method can work for you, whether you're an experienced barber or you're a beginner. All right, so there we go. I've already cleared out my 1.5 section, and then right above it you can see the line that I made, that's going to be my 2 area, and also my 2.5 and my 3 area. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here in this section. This section below does not exist. I want to specify that, because what ends up happening is sometimes you look at it, the haircut is in its entirety, And when you do that, you get confused. So anything below my hand does not exist. So I'm going to come in here with a number 1. And basically I'm going to split my section into 2. Right above the dark portion where I started the section, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take that section and I'm going to divide it right into 2. And to do that, I use my 1 guard, my Oster 1 guard. You have the same agenda, making sure that the section that you cut, that it's clear. The only thing you want in there is the hairs that are at a number 1. You don't want anything longer. Of course, you don't want anything shorter. Now, if you see that, you can see it clearly. Look at that. Here's our 1 area. Right above it, our 1.5 still exists. And then, of course, the same, anything above a 1.5, all the way up until what he has on the top there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into the 1 area, and I'm going to create, probably one of my most favorite things to do, is to create a little sub-level. To create that sub-level, I'm going to use my Andes Master. I like the fast feed blade. It comes with, of course, the natural blade, but the fast feed blade is my favorite one to use because it just transitions so good from 0 into the haircut. So I'm going to take this and draw my sub-level. And I'm going to have the clipper closed. And I want you to see something. I want you to understand what I mean by closed. If you can see that, you see those notches that are on the side of that? There's 5 notches. Okay? When I push this all the way down like that, when I push this all the way down, the blade opens up. That's what I mean about the blade being open. But when I push it all the way up, that's what I mean by the blade being closed. And if you can look at the blade, if you can see it, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? You see how flush that is? We call that being 0 gap. It's very important that whatever you create your sub-level with, that you 0 gap the blade. If not, you may have a little difficulty, but there's always other tools that you have that should be able to, that you should be able to transition the haircut with. So I'm going to come in here right now, right above this dark area. Right above this dark area right here, I'm going to come and I'm going to drop my sub-level in. Just a small little level. I don't want to take too much of my 1 level away. I just want to drop it in there enough that it's going to be a smooth transition when I get ready to ball this haircut out. And you'll see what I'm talking about towards the end. It may look a little confusing. It's like, why am I drawing these sections and why am I putting these lines in the haircut? Well, when we fade, that's what you're working with. You're working with lines. But the way these systems work is you're working with the lines that you made, which makes it a lot simpler and easier to fade the hair when you're working with lines that you made versus ones that just came out of nowhere and you're wondering, oh my God, how do I get those out? All right, so that's our setup. This particular portion, I'm going to go from bottom to top. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this here. I'm going to leave the dark portion here. I'm not going to take that away for now. We're going to leave that there. But I'm going to start from right here, from where we created this section here with the Andes Master, and then go straight up. Okay? Now I already have the Andes Master in my hand, so I'm going to go ahead and just work with that. And because we're going up, I'm just going to open it just a little bit more and just kind of work on that line and soften it some. That's it. Now one thing I want to tell you is you can actually work in this particular area, this section, this tier, with confidence. Because this Andes Master, if I open it all the way, I want you to take a look at that. If I open it all the way, it's pretty much equivalent to a 0. It's pretty much equivalent to a half, I'm sorry. So this half working in this one area, I can work confidently without having to worry about making a new new line. So now I'm just gonna open it just a little bit more and just come up in that area just a little bit more. The only thing that I'm worried about is this one section that I'm working in. The section below it and the sections above it do not exist right now. Just this one. Open it. By the time I open this all the way, I pretty much can swing this line out. But I'm not going to do that. I want to show you something differently because I like to use Andes, but I have the ability to use any tool that is placed before me. So I want to show you that yes, you can use your Andes, but what if you don't have an Andes master? What if you don't have the Fade Master blade? Then what do you do at that point? Are you lost? Can you not do the system anymore? I have to have the same exact tools? What we're going to do is I'm going to use my Oster fast feed. And the only thing I'm going to use my Oster fast feed is just to soften up this little weight right up in here. That's it. Because of course, the difference between this fast feed blade and this master blade, you can see the difference just by looking at it. So this one, when I open it up, it's going to transition into that one nicely. Not that I couldn't have done it with the Andes. I could have easily have done it with the Andes. But we just want to show you some versatility today by using different tools to show you can accomplish it even if you're not using the same exact tools that I am. So I'm going to come in here, right here, starting from here, and just come in and swing. And just work on that dark patch. The lovely thing about this line right here that you see here, this line is a barrier to tell me, do not come near here. This is my 1.5 section. This is my 1.5 area. Don't come inside my 1.5 area with this half or with this 1. So whatever you're doing, whatever work you're doing, do it below there. That's a little bit of control. The outcome is going to be precision. Look at that. Look how that transitions. Real nice. Now I'm going to pick up my Andes Master again. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start with let's start with the 0. We're going to start with our 0 guard. Okay? I love these guards. They clip right on. And also, just so you know, even though it's an Andes guard, you can actually take that same Andes guard and it'll work on the fast feed as well. Now that's the double magnet. If you have the single magnet, you're not going to have the same success. The double magnet is going to give you the same. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to close it, okay, because we're fading up. I'm going to close it and I'm going to work on this area right here, just on that little line, okay? Because by the time I open this up, the 0 open is pretty much equivalent to the 1. And that's the line that I'm working on. This is the 1.5, this is the 1.5 up here. So this is my 1 line. So I can get in here confidently working without knowing that I'm going to make some type of mistake. So I'm going to close it and just work only on that line. And I want you to notice my movement. If you see how I'm moving, look at, I'm moving in a way where, let me see if I can find it. I'm moving in a way here where it's fingers and wrist. Okay? This is the movement. When you end up cutting into your fade is when you are an arm fader. Arm faders have a lot of problems controlling how they fade because you end up getting no control that way. For you new barbers, work on your wrist work and your fingers. That's all it is. That's all it is. And the shorter area that you're working in, the faster the movement and the smaller the movement. If you're working in a big area, then of course it can be a bigger swing. So I'm going to open this up a little bit more. Just only on the line. That's it. Only on the line. You can almost see it's coming together. By the time I open this up, which I'll do that now, look at that. Look at that. great thing about this method as well is as you work in these sections and as you're doing this, you're dividing it in a way where if you have to come back and you see a dark area or a little bit of weight, because keep in mind that hair does not grow out of the follicle the way that you want it to. It grows out how it's how it wants to, how it, genetics have it comes out of the head. So as you are cutting, yes, you may have put the one in this area, but for some reason it's a little bit darker over here than it is over here. But the great thing about this method is you've compartmentalized it in a way where you know exactly what level or tier that you're working in. So you're not going to take a 0 guard and put it into your 1.5 area or your 2 area or your 2.5. You're going to put the appropriate guard in the appropriate level. Why? Because you created the level. You know what level it is because you created it. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over to my Oster 111s. And I started with the 1.5 guard. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually put my 2 on. And I want you to keep something in mind. Because I'm using a detachable system, and I'm also using an adjustable system. And for those who are not aware of what I'm talking about, if you have a guard that you put on and it snaps on, that's a detachable clip. Okay. It detaches, it attaches. That's detachable. And of course, our fast feeds or our Andy's Masters, those are adjustable. We adjust them. Okay? That's the difference. Now, do you have to have a detachable clipper or detachable system to do this method? You don't. You can use the same method using all detachables if you wanted to, or completely adjustable if you wanted to. So what I'm going to do here is I've already created, this is my 1.5 area. So above that is a 2. Now, I'm not going to skip any guards. I'm just going to go straight up with it because if I do, it's going to leave a weight line. So we're going to come in with our 2, just quickly. Now I'm going to stop there. This is a reality of cutting. I'm going to stop there. You see how I place my 2 on? And as I place my 2 on, I reveal a little weight line right here. See if you can get it. I created a little weight line. Now the only reason that weight line is there is because the transition between my 1.5 and my 2 isn't perfect. So now that I see this here, I see that I'm going to stop. The great thing about this system is because of the levels that we work in, we're going to stay in those levels. We're not going to go to another level until that level is clear. So all I'm going to simply do is come back over here. I'm going to grab my Andy's Fade Master and I'm going to take my 1 guard. Because my 1 guard open is equivalent to a 1.5, I can literally take this guard, get in here, and just take that small weight line out. For clippers, for guards to pick up off each other in a way where you put 1 guard on and it takes the line out, you put another guard on and it takes the line out, it takes adjustment. You even have to do that with detachable clippers. So because I saw that little weight line, now I'm going to stop and come back. And there we have it. Now I can proceed. I've already placed my 2 on there. Now I'm going to place my 2.5. Now Oster doesn't make a 2.5 guard that I know of, so I'm going to actually go back to my Andy's Master, and I have a 2 on. And I'm going to take that 2 and just work right in the parietal ridge. My 2 open is generally equivalent to a 3, so I'm just going to open it just a little bit more because I want this to transition as best as possible from a 2 to a 3. And then I'm going to open my 2 all the way, and just right here at the ridge, just right here at the turn. If you notice what I was doing, at first I was going up, straight up. The reason why I'm kind of turning a little bit is actually because I'm going against the way his hair grows. His hair grows down in this direction. For us to cut effectively, we have to get against that hair. So I'm turning. Look at how many turns I'm making. Because that's the way his hair grows. Okay. At this point, you can see the haircut coming together. And I'm going to go ahead and take my Oster. I actually have a 3.5 blade for this one that I didn't know about, but I'm going to use it. And I'm going to put that right on. And one thing that's important to do, it's important to go from front all the way to the crown. From the front all the way to the crown. The only time that you don't want to come all the way to the front into the crown is if you look in the front and there's a little bit of thinning or there's some lightness, then you don't want to do that because you might actually cut it back further than what you want. At that point, then you just come just a little bit past the front line and then go and then deal with this with another tool. So you're going to come all the way back. And then make sure also, because hair, as we said, doesn't grow out of the follicle always straight, we want to come across the hair paradigm as well so that we can get any of those little aggravating hairs that are standing up. One thing I like about the adjustable clipper, I'm going to actually keep a hold of my number 2 again, and I'm going to keep a hold of my 1. I just see just a little slight weight there. One great thing about the adjustable is you can get in there and work and open and close until you take that weight out. Now, as I put the number 2 on, the reason I put the number 2 on is because I'm in my 2 area. I'm in my 1.5, my 2, my 2.5 area. So I always want to stay cautious. Great thing about the Andes Master is you can actually hear if it's cutting hair. So as I put it in, I hear a little hair cutting, but not much, which means that this level is clear. I have to go to a smaller guard if I want to affect changing. So I'm actually going to go to my 1, I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to come right in this area, because this 1 open is generally, it acts as a 1.5, and I just have to come in and make sure. One mistake I don't want to see you make is movement. When you're blending, you need movement. If you come into this hair with slow movement, every single time you go into the hair, you're making a new line. So what you want to do is make sure that you have the appropriate amount of movement when you're blending. So we just hear just a little bit of haircut, and that means we got it. I'm going to actually come over now and line them up. And I want to use, let's use our GTX. I'm going to use the Andes GTX outliner. There's a reason I selected this one. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to line them up from the front. Okay? But as I line them up from the front, I'm going to tip up. But before I even start, what I want to make sure that I do, I'm just going to turn Tito's head just a little bit and hold it up. And I want to take a look at it myself to make sure that I'm correct in which way that I have to tape it. And I'm going to come in. Because not all the time are you going to be in front of your client. But you have to be able to see. So as I make that straight line there, now I'm just going to tip up. Always take less. Not all the times you have to just go all the way back and see that sharp, dark tape line. You can always take the hair off. You can't put it back on. So be cautious, especially you new barbers out there. Be cautious. Keep in mind that as you're cutting hair, you're building a reputation. And you can either build a good reputation or you can build a bad one. One thing I always tell my students is a client, whether they had a good time or a bad time, a good haircut or a bad haircut, they're going to tell people about it. You're going to get different types of advertisement. One thing that you know for sure is that a client that was dissatisfied, well, a client that's satisfied, they'll probably tell 5 people, oh, you know what, go over here and get a great haircut from this guy. He's wonderful. 5 people they'll tell. A client that's had a bad experience or a bad haircut will tell 50 people, 100 people, everywhere. They'll tell people they don't know. They'll come in contact with them and say, hey, listen, don't go over there. They'll be in the Publix, in the grocery store, telling people where to go and where not to go. So you always want to be cautious. You always want to build your good reputation no matter what. So now as I come in here into the corner, I'm going to turn my blade, the top portion of my blade, I'm going to turn it back. Okay? If I keep it straight like this, if I keep it straight, which that seems like I can do that. Man, if I do this, this is going to be so, that's going to create such a sharp tape line. It's going to be so straight. But if I do that, in the front of his head, see if we can just turn it. It's actually going to appear like this. You see the way my blade is? You see how far out my blade is? That's how it's going to appear in the front. Okay? Almost like you're creating some type of shape. So what I want to do is I want to actually tip back. Once I've done that, I want to always take a look. The last thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to do a full tape line and then look at it and see that you need to make adjustments. A little bit at a time. I'm satisfied with that. I like it. Okay. The reason why I picked up this tool as well is because one thing I like to do is I like to save time. And whatever tool that I have in my hand, then I want to utilize that tool wherever I can. So remember I said we're going to save this bottom portion. So I'm actually going to take this GTX and I'm going to come in and I'm going to take off the bottom. But I'm going to leave that little faint line there. When we do the other side, I'm not going to leave the faint line. I want to show you that you can actually swing into it. But for right now, we're going to leave that faint line there. Once again, I'm leaving a border so that I know, do not come there, do not come near here. Because I'm going to use my shaver. And we all know as we're using our shavers, that if you can put a line in your haircut with a shaver, that it'll take you a while to get out if you're not careful. So I'm just going to leave that line there because I don't want to go beyond that. That's my barrier, that's my perimeter. Okay. Now what we're going to do, when we come back, I'm going to show you exactly how I'm going to shave his head down. But for now, let's have a few words from our sponsors.
You can't take this from me. Oh yeah. You can't take this from me. Oh yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. As you can see, the purpose of our channel is to, of course, provide education, and not just education with the clippers, education all around. And the question that we projected to everyone is, what do the colors in the barber pole mean? And let's go into that just a little bit. The barber pole is very meaningful when it comes to the barber profession because of how it's dissected, and the way that it originally was implemented is because barbers originally were surgeons. The medical profession stemmed from our career. So we used to do certain things like bloodletting. We used to do things like dentistry, minor surgery. So when we did bloodletting, which is basically taking leeches and putting leeches on the skin, because at that particular time, they thought that that was a great way to alleviate disease. In some cases it worked. In some cases, of course, with more serious things, it didn't. But when they did the bloodletting, they used to take the rags that they would wipe the blood up with, and they would take them and they would hang them outside on a pole. And of course, as the wind is blowing, those rags used to wrap around. And that's why you see the circular motion of the pole. But the colors of it are all meaningful. The red, of course, stands for the blood in the bloodletting process. The blue stands for the veins, and then the white, of course, for the rags. And even the basin, the silver basin that you see, that actually has a meaning in itself because the blood used to flow into the basin, so that has a meaning as well. So when you see that barber pole, keep in mind that it's not just signifies a barber shop. For us, it's much deeper than that. When we see it, we understand that, we had, although a humble beginning, we had a very intricate history when it comes to the medical profession. So for all those that knew that, kudos to you. And for those that didn't, well, we're happy that you're learning something on FadeFlix Live. So as you're tuning back in now, if you were not here before, we're glad to have you here now. We're doing a great haircut method, and we're doing our precision method. Last week we did a control method where we worked with several lines. This week we're working in one section, and that section we already have it blended, and right now what we're going to do is we're actually going to shave the bottom of Tito's head. But before we shave it, you can see that I've made a distinct line here, and I've made that line because I don't want to take my shaver and come into that section and make a new line. So I'm actually going to use a dual shaver combo, but before I do that, I'm actually going to prep the bottom portion of his head for shaving. I'm going to use my Remington shave stick for that. For some reason you can't find this in stores yet. I think that that's going to probably change because every single time that I use this in a battle or in the barbershop, I'm always asked, hey, what is that and why do you use it? Sometimes by clients and by other barbers. What this does is just coats the skin, so when you're using the shaver, that it doesn't irritate this, overly irritate the skin. So I'm just going to place a little bit of that on, and then I'm going to come with my Andy's Pro Foil shaver, and I'm going to start shaving this head off. Now I'm going to, you see it, I'm moving around a bit. I'm not just going straight up like this. His hair doesn't grow that way. It grows out of the head, out of the follicle in all different directions. So that's exactly how I'm going to cut it. And you can tell if you're cutting or not because you can hear it. If it sounds rough, you're cutting hair. If it sounds too smooth, the hair is already gone. And one thing that you can do as well is when you get to that top line, so you don't catch the shaver on it, go in a circular motion, and that'll also soften that line that's sometimes made when you're using the shaver on the skin filler. So as I get to that top line, I'm going to go in a circular motion. Now, if you notice the area that I have in the back, around his occipital and around his nape, it's a wide area. But as I come over here to the ear, it's a much thinner area that I'm working with. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to turn my shaver around because all I want to do is just use the one blade instead of two. I'm going to come in here. Once again, as I get close to the line, I'm going to come in a circular motion. In a circular motion. that these systems are set up is for you actually to be able to take the line out, the last line out, with whatever you made it with. So I could actually take my clipper and take that line out. But before I do that, I'm actually going to come with my wall custom shaver. And I like to use this one simply for the back portion. And I'm not saying that wall isn't a great shaver. I prefer the Andy shaver. But this one has the back portion that you can use for sideburns. But I like to come in here and it just makes that shaver line blend in so much better with that skin line. So I'm just going to come just below the line that I made. And now I'm ready to take the line out. Now I'm going to come with my Andy Style Liner 2. Now I could come in here with my GTX blade because I made this with my GTX blade. But I like to use versatility. I'm going to use the Style Liner 2 because the way that I have it's set in a way where it'll take the line out, but it'll also blend into the top portion of that really, really nicely. So I just want to come in really quick, only on the line. This is why it's important to practice controlling your swing or your C motion, because if you're doing this with your arm, you're going to cut into the haircut. And for those who may do that, I'm going to tell you this. Things happen, and if you do cut into your haircut, calm down, breathe, don't get aggravated. Because the thing that you need to understand is you set the haircut up in sections and levels. So if you do cut into it, you can simply go in there and fix whatever mistake that you simply have made. Now I see something that I just want to check. So I'm going to take my Andy Fade Master and I'm just going to come right above because it looks a little bit dark in my half area. And I'm going to open it all the way just to check it. You see that? I hear just a little bit of hair. That little bit of hair was competing with my fade. And the reason why I saw that is because hair speaks. I know that sounds strange, but it speaks. If you listen to it, you'll know exactly what to do, exactly what tool to pick up. Also, of course, it makes it a lot easier because of how you set the haircut up. You can simply just put whatever tool you want to put on here, open your guard, close your guard to make whatever adjustments that you want to make. Now what I'm going to do is just put my zero on. I'm just going to check my haircut before we close out this portion. I want to show you something else that I'm actually going to do as well. Right now, this is just a check. You want to always make sure and check and see if there's anything in there that could be competing with that fade being nice and smooth. You just come in and just close your guards and open your guard. This is going to become second nature to you. The more you work with the system, the more you work in these levels and these tiers, you're going to know exactly what to do and when to do it. And I'm going to show you something else that you can do as well. In this particular segment, I want you guys to learn there are different things that you can use. There are different tools that you have. So many tools in your arsenal, in your barber box, in your drawer. You have so many tools, but you can use them in ways that you never thought that you could possibly use them. I'm actually going to keep this guard in my hand, and I'm telling you right now that you can actually do this with a fade master. You can do it with a fast feed. You can do it with your trimmer. I'm actually going to take my comb, and I'm just going to come in, and I want to check this area here and make sure that everything is the way I want it to be. So sometimes when you get in with a guard, like for some reason I put my 1.5 on, I put my 2 on, what's going on? Maybe I should put a 1 on. And then you start second guessing yourself because you're like, wait a minute, if I put a 1 on right here, that's my 2 area. That's not going to be a good idea, but I've already put my 1 on. I've already put my 1.5 on. I'm not getting what I want. And that could possibly be just the way that Tito's hair grows. So we're going to come in here, we're going to check it, but we're going to do it with comb, clipper over comb. So I'm going to come in here, close And I'm just gonna see if there's something. Look at that. You hear it? Just that little bit of weight. And I went in there with the 1.5, didn't I? I went in there with the 2, didn't I? But for some reason, it just was not doing what I wanted it to do. That's one thing about this system that I like, is that you actually, when you're first doing it, you got to trust the process, but sometimes you panic and you're like, oh my God, what do I do? Just stick with the system, trust the process. It's going to come out the way that it should. Trust me. There's a gentleman that contacted me on Instagram, and I can't remember his Instagram name, but I know his name is Mr. Fields, Bobby Fields. And I want to thank him for actually contacting me and letting me know his success with the great haircut method. And that's exactly what he said. He said he was nervous, but he stuck with it. And then after he was done, what a great method was it and how it worked for him. So I appreciate him. Remember that, you guys, don't forget that you can hashtag a great haircut method. You can hashtag FadeFlix Live, and we can actually shout you out during our program. And we'd love to do that. We'd love to hear the feedback. So if you get an opportunity, please be sure to do that. All right, there we go. Sometimes you get kind of in, I guess, maybe a fade world, and you just sit there and you just kind of play with it a little bit. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen up his line. One thing that I like to do is I like to always have my razors prepared. I have today with me 3 different razors. That saves time versus sitting there. You know, listen, we're barbers. We have more than one of everything. So we have several razor holes. So I like to go ahead and set my razor holes when my razors are ready, and it saves time. Now you can use whatever you want to apply to the head. I like to use a little bit of spritz, so I'm just going to use, making sure that I cover his eye. Whatever you spray, whether it be water, whatever it is, if you're spraying something in the area to help to accentuate the tape, then you always want to make sure that you cover the client's eye, their nose, and their mouth. That's very important. That also shows great customer service. It also shows experience, and it also shows confidence. When a client sees you do certain things of this nature, they know that you have the ability to do what they want you to do, that you're experienced. And you may not be, but you just may have just a great service. You may not be as experienced as they think, but you may just have a great service. So what I'm going to come in here, I'm going to just take those little hairs away. If you can see those little hairs, I've already made the line. So I'm not coming in here to make a new line. All I'm doing is I'm coming in here and I'm taking those little dark hairs that are going to, as I like to say, compete with the fade. This is all the finish. This is all cleanup. This is precision. Now I'm going to go up. I've already gone down with the razor. I've already gone down with the clipper. Now I'll go up. And the reason why I'm going up is because those hairs go down. You see them? See those little hairs right there? There we go. And be sure that when you use the razor, whatever direction you're going, you need to kind of pull a little bit. Don't pull too tight. Just a little bit. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to mention something to you. Barbers. Yes, I said barbers because that's what we are. We're barbers. We are not in the rodeo. Okay? We're not riding bulls. So there's no way in the world that we're going to sit here and edge and have, I hate to see when I see a barber, he has one hand in the air. Even if it's a clipper, he has one hand up here, or he has one hand over here on his side. And this looks really cool to have one hand in your pocket, but that's not efficient. Your hand should always be on the client somewhere here so that you can have control of the situation. Anything can happen. They can sneeze. Anything can happen. So you always want to have your hand in contact with the client's head. Now what I'm going to actually do, because I see that, well, of course you can see that Tito has a beard, but I want to transition just a little bit of this beard in to his fade. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm actually going to use the control method. We used this last week. I'm going to give you a little bit of the control method that we used last week. And all I'm going to do is just come in. Let's not even worry about using any detachables. We're just going to use straight adjustables. So I'm going to come in with my Andes Fade Master. I have a 0 here, so I'm going to come in and just make a line like that with the clipper closed. A little small line. Then I'm going to open it up just a little bit more, and I'm going to go just below that. Then I'm going to open it all the way, and I'm going to go just below that. Now I'm going to put my 0 guard on. I'm going to close my 0 guard, and I'm going to go just below that. I'm going to open it a little bit, just below that. And I'm going to open it all the way right there. So now as I come up, I'm going to swing this open in the open area. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it. I'm closing it as I come up. As I come up, take the guard off, open it up, close it a little bit more, and close it all the way. I would say that took about maybe 10 seconds. And then over here, this line, we can either put a 1 in there, or you can just come simply with your comb and work the weight out. Because we don't really want to touch this. The more guards you put on, the more you have to worry about that. Look at that. Small transition. So not only can you use these methods on the haircut, but you can also use the methods on the beard as well. So I'm going to come in now with my GTX blade and just put just a nice little line. I'm going to leave it the way it is. I like to leave things natural. I know sometimes it seems what you want to do is you want to push it back, and then the client's coming back the next 3 days, say, hey, I need another tape. But I like to leave things as natural as possible so they can last for the client. The service, the attention to detail, that's what's going to bring them back. Okay. And I'll come right here, see that natural line right there, and I'll come right here from this natural line and come up. Actually, pump Tito up a little bit. There we go. Now, one thing I do not worry about doing, I don't worry about making things so pristine with the trimmer. It makes no sense to do that because I'm just going to come right back with my razor and sharpen it up. All I want to be able to do is to be able to sharpen it up as much as possible, just enough so I can have a guideline for my razor. There we go. And now when I put the razor on there, I already have another razor prepared, and I can just go right into edging them out. Now if you want to, you can start from the inside out, or you can start from the outside and go in. Whatever your preference is. Once again, making sure that you hold the skin taut. How many people out there remember the 14 shave methods? Come on, tell me. Backhand, reverse backhand, yeah, right. Nobody uses that stuff, right? I do. So we're just going to use the backhand here. Now, have you noticed what I just asked Tito to do? I asked him to drop his lip for me. Good, thank you. One thing that's important when you're cutting hair, it's not a dictatorship, but you have to have confidence. And if you're cutting hair and you're asking your client too many questions, it's going to show as if you don't know what you're doing. You know, if I ask Tito, I say, hey, do you think you should drop your lip so I could do this? What do you think? Tito doesn't know. He's the client. He's looking for me to give him the service. I'm the one who's experienced, so you have to know, you have to exhibit confidence by not asking too many questions. The question should be asked in the beginning, and then you should continue with your service from that point forward. I actually see a little bit of hair on the top lip. I don't want to take it out with the shears. With the clippers. So I'm actually going to just use a little shear to take it out. I have to thank Shear Corrections for my shears. They really hooked me up, so I want to just say thank you to them. Just here. You don't have to have the clipper there. You don't have to use that. You can use the comb. And the way that it comes out is a whole lot. Look at that. Sometimes when you use the clipper, you use the shaver and you shave it down, sometimes you cut a gap in there that you never even knew was there. So you always want to use the appropriate tools in the appropriate way. I'm just coming here with my style liner too, and I just want to touch up this top and make sure that it transitions into this beard. One thing that we hope FadeFlix Live, myself, the entire crew, is that we're providing you with an appropriate amount of education, that you're actually looking at this and you're learning something, you're taking something from it. But one thing that we realize that we're doing, and I don't know that you realize that we're doing, is this takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort to put these episodes and these shows together, and we're all committed to doing it. And at this point, we're doing it for nothing, we're doing it for free. So we ask that you do a couple of things for us. One, that you subscribe to FadeFlix Live. Two, that you continue to hashtag FadeFlix Live and you continue to hashtag a great haircut method. You also support the sponsors that are involved with the show as well. And if you're watching and you'd like to be a part of our sponsorship program, then feel free to contact us and we'll see how we can also get you worked in. But another thing that we're going to ask that you do is keep in mind that it is a program that's being done for free, but we're sharing it. And we ask that you do the same thing, that you share about the program, but that you also share about the methods and share about the things that you're learning. And if you've learned something from it, then give it to somebody else and it might make them a better barber as well. And that's what it's all about. We're not doing these things and saying these things just to sound good on air or on Instagram. You're really dealing with a group of people that are humble and that love giving back and that are trying to provide a platform that they can actually do that. I see something that I want to do, and I think I did this the last time when we were doing the control method. I want to just put a little bit of a curve in here. I like the way that looks, so I'm going to just put a little bit of curve in it. But when I put my curve in actually with a handheld razor, and I tell everybody don't do this. I remember when I was in barber school, that I was always, at the time I was, they asked me to be a student teacher, a student instructor. So I was in class and I was helping instruct when it came to the barbering. But there was a barber that taught me how to make a great curve by holding the razor in my hand. And I'll never forget my teacher, Miss Aurora. She always told me, I'd hear her yelling at me and cackling in the background. Keto, what are you doing? Because she wanted me to set the right example. And I did, for the most part, don't get me wrong, I set the right example, but I just could not get away from doing it. So I used to always kind of sneak and do it, and sometimes she would catch me. So I remember I used to always tell everyone before I did it, don't do this, because I felt like I was doing what she wanted me to do, but I was also doing what I needed to do as well. So I keep saying that every single time I pick the razor up in my hand. So I'm actually going to pick the razor up, and I see the curve that I want to make right here, very nicely. I'm just going to come in there and I'm just going to work with that curve. Miss Aurora, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Here we go. I'm just going to curve it out. It's going to give us a nice transition with that fade. Come over just a little bit. There we go. Clear it out. And then I'll come up underneath and just take a little bit of that hair out. And there we have it. Just me just looking at little things that I see that I want to just kind of correct a little bit. The crime of perfectionism. Keep in mind though that there is no perfect set of circumstances, that all you could possibly do is be the best that you could possibly be. I'm going to tell you something real quick before we take our next break. I used to have an Instagram name where it was called Master the Barber Game. And I've told this story several times before. When I go to speak in classes or I go to speak to students, I tell them this story. And generally when I had the name Master the Barber Game, the only thing that people heard was that I was trying to be a master, or that I said that I was a master. And I'm not saying that. I think everyone should try to master the barber game. And it's not just an aspect of cutting, it's all aspects of it. But one day I woke up and I realized that I was humbly the greatest. And when I changed the name, of course, all people heard was the greatest. Oh, he thinks he's the greatest, and that's the furthest thing from my mind. Actually, what it is each day I'm going to strive to be the greatest person I could possibly be. Not the greatest barber. This isn't a competition. I'm better than you. Just the greatest person I could possibly be. And that encompasses barbering, me as a father, as a husband, as a friend, as a son, as an uncle. Be the greatest person that you could possibly be. And it encompasses everything. But here's the thing that we, in our imperfection, have to remember. When you strive for greatness, sometimes you achieve it. Maybe not in every single area, but sometimes you achieve that greatness. And the thing that you have to do at that moment is when you achieve the level that you want to achieve, to remember to stay humble. Every single day, remember to stay humble. And that's what I strive to do. And that, to that end, not only am I humbly the greatest, I feel like everybody is the same. All right, so there we have it. I'm going to spin Tito around and let you see this portion of the haircut. The precision method, if you notice, it gave us kind of a more, well, I guess you could say like a blurry blend here. So when we do the other side, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go from top to bottom and show you exactly how you can use this method, even if you like to fade in that way. But of course, before we do so, let's have a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. Welcome back again to FadeFlix Live. Thanks for joining us. If you've just joined, hopefully you've been watching the entire time. You had an opportunity to see us do the precision method of a great haircut method, where we basically worked in one section of the haircut versus working in different levels of a haircut, just like with the control method. So on this side, I actually faded going from bottom to top. On the other side, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to fade going from top to bottom for those who like to use that method. So I'm actually going to turn Tito this way. And what first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to carve out my section. I'm going to carve out the section here. Tito is going to wear about a number 3 up top. So because he's wearing a number 3 up top, I'm going to clear my whole section out with a 1.5. And then that's going to leave me with my 2, 2.5, and 3 up top. And it's going to leave me with my 1, my half, and my skin at the bottom. So we're going to come right in here with that 1.5, and I'm going to use my Oster Turbo 111s to do that. With my 1.5. I felt my blade was sticking a little bit last time, so I'm going to actually take a little bit of my 5-in-1 and spray it on there. There we go. If you're just joining us, please make sure that you subscribe to FadeFlix. And also make sure that you're hashtagging FadeFlix and a great haircut method, because we definitely would like to shout you guys out at the end of the show. And if you had some success with the great haircut method, let us know. Or if you have some ideas that you'd like to see on FadeFlix, please give us a call or message us so that we can be able to maybe implement those things as well. This isn't just for us, this is for you. So now what I'm going to do is, if you notice, I've taken my section, I've cleared out my 1.5 section here. And it's important to make sure that you do that in a way where it's a large enough section. I want to say about maybe 2 inches, a large enough section. And I want to actually open it up a little bit more. I feel like I need to open it up. There we go. And it's also important that in this section, the section is clear. You want to make sure that if you cut this to a 1.5, that this entire section is cut at a 1.5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Oster 1, and I'm going to take this section and I'm going to divide it in half. So I'm going to come right in here, right above the dark area here, this bottom portion, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to take this entire section and I'm going to cut it in 2, just like that. Regardless of if you're fading up or fading down, you're going to set the haircut up the same exact way. For new barbers, this is a great technique. For cosmetologists and stylists that want to learn how to fade like the pros, great technique. And for even those that have experience, it's still a great technique. It's a different way. You always want to learn something different. You always want to know a different way of doing something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drop in a sub-level in here. Some like to go skin and then work here. But I like to drop a sub-level in right above my skin so the transition can be very smooth. So I'm going to come in with the Andy's Fade Master Blade. I'm going to close it, pushing it all the way up and making sure that the blades are flush. That's closed. Okay? This is open. When the blades are, see the separation of the blade? That's open and that's closed. So I'm going to come right above that dark area that you see and just make a very thin line right above. Right above, just like that. And you notice where my other hand is. My other hand is right on Tito's ear. To make sure that I have stability and control. Okay? Now I've done that. I've set the haircut up. I have a 4 up top. I'm going to cut this down to a 3. This is my 2.5 area here. This is my 2 area. My 1.5 area here. My 1 area here. We're going to call this a half area. Okay? My sub-level is generally a half area, and this is going to be my skin. Now I'm going to leave it set up just like this. I'm not going to remove this bottom portion. Now, I'm going to show you something else, because if you were here before, then you actually saw us use a great haircut method, but the control portion on the beard. So I'm actually going to set the beard up as well. I'm going to come in here, because I know all of this is going to be skin. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to set it up. Put the guard on closed. Before I had like an extra step in there that I didn't need, so I'm actually removing that step. I don't really need that. And I'm going to open it up and put it here. Now I know this looks strange, but trust the process that it's going to work. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 different sections that I have in the beard, and then the sections that I have up top. So now that it's set up completely, now we're going to come in here and we're going to start from bottom to top. I'm going to go ahead and cut this to a 3.5. And I was intending to use my 3 guard, my Andy's 3 guard, but I'm not going to use that because I remember I have an actual 3 guard for the Austin 111. So I'm going to come in with my Austin 111 and I'm just going to take this hair off from the front part of the hair all the way to the crown. One swift motion. Okay? All the way to the back. And then at some point, I'm going to cross over because the hair does not grow out of the head straight all the time. It grows out of different levels, different directions, I'm sorry. And so I'm going to do somewhat of a cross pattern. Okay? You have to get up underneath the hair to affect change. I'm going to take the Austin 111, I'll sit that down, I'm done with that for now. Now I'm going to come in, counting down. 3, 2.5, 2, 1.5, 1, half, that's the way we count it down. So now I'm going to come in here with a 2.5, and I'll use, as my 2.5, I'll take my Andy's Master, and I'll take my 2 guard.
and I'm going to open it up. This 2 guard is almost equivalent to a 3. So I'm going to come in here, and the great thing about it, I love several things about this method, but I love the confidence that it gives. I can take this 2 guard open and I can swing in this 3 area with no problem. That's some of the fear of cutting, is that I'm going to make a new line. No, we're not going to make a new line because we already made lines. We made our lines, now all we're going to do is take our lines out. So now I'm going to close it a little bit in half and come right in here, and that's going to be pretty much like a 2.5. And as you close it, you want to make sure that you use it in the appropriate area. You don't want to take a 2 and put it into your 3 area. You want to keep it in the area that it's meant for. So I'm closing it now. And I'm going to show you the same thing that I showed you on the other side, because I have it closed. I have a 2 on here. But if you notice, you see that little faint weight that's in there? When you apply guards on the head, what we do sometimes is when it doesn't work the way that we think that it should, all of a sudden now nervousness comes in. Don't worry about that. I'm going to simply take this 2 guard off. I'm going to keep the same clipper in my hand, and I'm going to take my comb, and I'm going to come right in. Can you see that? You see the little bit of hair that's there? And I'm just going to take that off. And you can hear it coming off because that's what the masters are known for. You can hear hair cutting. And I'm just going to soften that all the way. No fuss, no muss. I didn't have to sit up there and wonder, oh my God, let me put this clipper on, let me put that blade on. You know, why is it working? I just took my comb and did clipper over comb and simply just took that weight out. Now that I've cleared my 3, my 2.5, my 2 area, look, I'm clear now. Now I'm down in my 1 area, in my 1.5 area. So I'm going to take the same clipper that I have in my hand. I don't like to go back and forth and put clippers up and pick. If I have a tool in my hand that I can utilize for the job that I need in hand, then that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my 1 guard, my Andes 1, and I'm going to put it on open. It's only going to soften this line a little bit. It's not going to do much to it. But we're trusting the process and we're cutting the bulk back so that we don't make new lines. So I'm just going to come in here because this is, basically right now, I'm swinging a 1.5 into a 1.5. So what's going to happen? Nothing. But I still want you to do it, because as you do it, the confidence is setting in. So I'm going to close it just a little bit more. See if I hear anything. Just a little bit. Close it a little bit more. Remember, on our masters we have 5 notches, so you can start at the top notch and just go down a little bit as needed. Now you hear the hair cutting. I'm breaking my own rule right now. I don't have my hand on Tito. Look at that. Now we'll close a little bit more and we'll just swing right on that line. Making sure that you go in multiple directions to affect change the way needed. Just don't go straight up and think that it's just going to do exactly what you want it to do. It's not. And that's the back portion right there. There we go. And now I have it closed all the way. For those of you that like to fade down, this might be a much easier process as well, fading down, because all you have to do is just put the next guard underneath. The next guard down is what you're going to use. So I've exhausted all possibilities with this 1 closed. It's not really cutting any more hair. It's not really affecting any more change in the haircut. So what do? I just simply take it off, pick up my 0 guard, same action all over again. Open up the 0 guard. It's not going to do much. Why? Because this 0 guard open is equivalent, or almost equivalent, to this 1 closed. Once again, this method breeds confidence. You're not going to make new lines if you trust the process and you just trust it and do it. It'll work. So now, because it's not doing anything, I'm gonna close it to my 4th notch. Take a look at that. We're gonna show those who weren't here earlier. I'm gonna close it to my 4th notch. There we go. See? And I'm gonna come in. And as I cut on that line to the next notch, we're on the 3rd. And now, 2nd. And now close it off. Now, one thing that I urge you to do is, as you can see, this is a level system, this is a tier system. And even though, if you see something that is competing with the haircut, and it's it could be somewhat of a problem, then I want you to stop. I don't want you to stop throughout the whole process to do this. Because sometimes you may just have to do a check. Generally, what I'll do is I'll leave this to the end. But I want you to check it, because what I want you to do is I want you to be able to not go to the next level until previous levels are clear. So I'm just going to come back in here with the comb that I used before, because I think I may have left something. I don't hear anything. There it is. You hear that? There it is. Good. You just want to make sure those levels are clear. As clear as possible. All right, good. Now that I'm in here, this was my half area. I made this line right here. I made it with the master closed. So same process. Now I've exhausted all my guard possibilities. Now I'm going to come in here with the endies open and simply come in here and swing on that line. Get my brush. If you do this, if you have these same exact tools and you do this, and for some reason you feel like you just cut up into your fade, don't worry. I'm going to show you exactly what to do. Because I'm going to check this when I'm done. I'm going to check it with a different clipper, so don't worry about it. We're going to come in there, open, close it a little bit more. Remember, we got a 5-notch system in our Andy's master, and just stay on that line. It's important to make sure that you're using the appropriate swing, the appropriate C motion. Make sure that you're using the appropriate wrist motion and finger motion, not arm motion. This is going to be kind of difficult for you if you are an arm swinger. Practice. I don't care if you're at home and you're not even cutting hair. Pick up your clippers. Watch television. Do whatever else. And just swing your clippers in your hand. You're going to become better at it. And one thing don't do as well, and I'm closing this up, I'm closing it up. As I'm closing it up, I'm going on the line. Do not let anybody make you feel inferior. Don't make them make you feel because you just started that you're not as good as them. Now, those people may not be humble enough to tell you that, hey, we all started somewhere. When you're starting something out, the good thing is that you're committed to becoming a barber. But it's going to be ups and downs. Stick with it, and do not let anybody take you off of your focus. Do not let anybody make you feel like you can't do it. Just stick with it, and make sure that you surround yourself with the type of people that are going to help you become better. And that's one of the main reasons as well for the development of FadeFlix Live, was to help you become a better barber, was to educate you in a way that you can become successful. So we can't urge subscribing. All right. So now, as it's closed, I'll come in and swing last on that line. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go up really quick. I wanted to put this in going down, but I thought that it might be kind of confusing as far as the technique's concerned. On the other side, I came in with another clipper. I came in with my Oster fast feed. So I'm gonna come in with that Oster fast feed, and that Oster fast feed is just to soften this area over here. But I want you to see the area that need to be softened before we actually did it. So I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna open my Oster fast feed, and I'm just gonna come in this area and just soften it up. I chose to show you a mix and match of clippers today versus using my usual Andes clippers, because there's different ways that you can achieve the same goal. There's different ways that you can do it. It doesn't always have to be with the tools that I use. And there we go, we kind of just soften that a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to go right back into what we were doing before. The only thing that we have left is just to ball this out, and then to do whatever little cleanup. Okay? So I'm going to come in with my Andes GTX blade, and this particular time, remember the other time, on the other side, what we did was we actually came in here and we left that line just like this. We're not going to do that this time. I want you to be able to see that you can actually take this GTX blade, and that's why we put the sub-level in. The reason we put the sub-level in is because you can actually swing right up into that sub-level and make that transition from ball effortlessly. There we go. Effortlessly. There we go. Look at that. Now, until you get the confidence that you need, go ahead and leave that line there. There's nothing wrong with just leaving that piece of hair there until you're done, because that creates a separation between the shaver. You can leave it there. If you feel that the sub-level that you placed into the haircut was much more accurate over here than it was over here, and you feel like you might need to leave a piece there, but then leave it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's all about the end result. So I'm going to leave that funny little piece of hair there, show you that it'll all come out the same. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to shave them off. But before I shave them off, I'm going to use my Remington shave stick to put a barrier between the shaver and his head, so that we don't have a bunch of irritation when we're done. So I'm just going to take a little bit of it. It's a push-up stick. You don't have to really push it up much. For some reason, no matter how light you try to apply it, it gives you quite a bit. So I just roll with it. There we go. And now I'm going to take my Andes Profile shaver, and I'm just going to start shaving it off. Making sure I'm going in multiple directions. Making sure that when I reach the top, close to my fade, that I go in a circular motion. You just don't want to go just straight up. You want to continually go in different directions to make sure that you're catching all that hair. And as I said before, you'll hear it. You'll hear it and you'll feel it. You'll feel that pressure against your hand. When you're not feeling anything at all, that means the hair is gone. As I get to my portion of the fade, I'm going to go in a circular motion because I don't want to cut that deep shave line into my previous level. And then as I get to this area here, I'm going to turn my shaver around. So this is a much smaller area that I'm working with. And I don't want to use both blades, I just want to use a single blade. Now I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the other side. This just makes it a little bit easier for me. I'm gonna pick up my wall custom shaver, and I'm just gonna come in here with the back portion, and I wanna cut on that shave line. That gives me such a good transition from the shaver to the bald portion of the haircut. And I can do it without cutting into the haircut and making more problems for myself. And at that point, we just come in with our style liner 2. You can use your GTX if you want to, but I just choose to use my style liner 2 to just take out that last piece of hair. And just to do a check and balance, I love doing checks and balances. I already have this clipper in my hand, so why not come in here with my comb and just make sure that there's nothing inside the haircut that's competing with my fade. Just to make sure. Versus, seeing something and then going to pick up another clip or another guard. It's not necessary. I can use this clipper that I have in my hand for at least a couple more jobs. One of them being the tape. So we're going to come immediately over to the tape. I've already done this one nicely and corn it out. Let me see if we can get you over there. See that? So we're going to pick up off of that portion right there. Sorry, Tito, I just poked Tito in the eye. We're going to come here straight and then make sure that as I'm going around that I'm tipping up. What I mean by that is this outside blade here, it's going to go up. There we go. And before I do anything else, I'm going to take a look, make sure that it's as symmetrical as possible. That's something that I want you, I think that every barber should keep in mind, is that when you're taping, it's about symmetry. It's not about drawing a tape line on. It's not about making it as dark as possible. It's not about pushing the tape line back. Nope. In the 25 years that I've been cutting hair, I think I've seen one perfect tape line. It's not about a perfect tape line. It's about taking a person's line and making it as symmetrical as possible. So now I'm going to come up, making sure that that outside blade or that top blade is back, because I want to create the right shape in the front. Once again, I want to look good. And I'm going to just leave it there. I'm not going to spend so much time trying to make sure that Tito's tape is extremely straight with these clippers, because I'm going to actually come up my razor. I don't want to beat his skin up. I don't want him to seem all red, because don't you hate when you have a great haircut, it looks so good and then you got these red patches and red marks? So now what I'm going to do is I still have the same tool in my hand. So now I'm going to start fading his beard, and I'm going to go ahead and take the first level out right here. Now I've pretty much exhausted all possibilities with this tool, so now I'm done with it. Go ahead and set it down, pick back up my Andy's Fade Master, and get to blending in. Okay, this area here I did with it being open, so I'm going to close it up a little bit, close it up a little bit, close it up a little bit. The other area I did with the zero guard open, the zero guard close, I'm sorry. So I'm actually going to come in here with my just clipper open. And now I'm going to come in here, closing my zero guard as I go up. Now as we get into the bulk of the beard, it makes no sense. If you want to, you can come into the bulk of the beard. You can say, hey, let me grab a 1, let me grab a 2. The easiest thing is just to take a comb. Let me see if I can turn around this side, if you see that a little bit better. It's just to take a comb and to come in here, find that little weight, tip the comb up, and blend it in. Literally, that blend takes about maybe, that simple blend right there, it takes seconds. I want to say about maybe 20 seconds at the most. Okay? Now we'll come in and line Tito's beard up, keeping it as natural as possible. You see he has a nice curve here. If he wants to, I mean, you can do some certain things in there, make it very, you know, you can design it out and come in really deep and it looks great. Maybe if there's a special event that he's going to, something he just wants to kind of stand out as. But if he's going to work every day, when that thing grows back, it's going to look really, really, it's going to look kind of weird. At that point, Tito's going to wonder why he paid $35, $40 for a haircut and he's going back in the next couple of days. Keeping it as natural as possible. Line him up a little bit above his lip. And then just a little bit above the lip. Not worrying about whether or not it's going to be extremely sharp with the clippers because we're going to come back with our razor. And now I'm going to grab my final razor. As I said, I like to prepare my razors beforehand to save time. And I'm going to come in here and go ahead and line his beard and then come up into the hair. And when you're using the razor, all you're doing is just accentuating what you've already done with your clipper. That's it. You're not trying to make a new line. Look around this side. Making sure I hold his skin taut. Now as I'm shaving, this happens sometimes. I'm going to ask you, if for sake of argument I'm sitting up here and I'm cutting Tito, I'm shaving him with the razor, and all of a sudden I'm almost done, but then I just nick him just a little bit. What's the first thing that I should do? Should I keep going or should I stop? I'm almost finished, it's not a big deal. I should immediately stop. Make sure that I grab septic powder. I don't like to see when I see barbers take a napkin and throw some talcum powder on it and then sit up there and try to make the bleeding stop with talcum powder. That's not what it was meant for. You need to have all of your tools necessary. So get you a little bit of septic powder. Use a Q-tip, a clean one. With one side of the Q-tip, you're going to wipe the blood. With the other side, you'll dip, and then you'll stop the bleeding. If it hasn't stopped, then you'll throw that Q-tip away, get another fresh Q-tip. Your septic powder is still clean. It's not, it's still sanitized because you haven't put anything dirty inside of it. And then once you've stopped the bleeding, because it happens sometimes, hopefully it doesn't happen today. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and line his top line. I'm going to spray what I like to spray. There's a little bit of spritz. If you notice when I did do that, if you were watching earlier, I made sure that I covered his eye, his nose, and his mouth before I did that to make sure that I'm not spraying any of that in areas that he definitely wouldn't want to have there. And just taking those little hairs that are competing with the fade. I don't know if everybody's looking or not, but Tito has competition hair. There's certain guys out there that when you see them, you're like, oh my God, this guy would be a great person to have compete. He takes a great fade. He has competition here, man. I think this is a winner. see I'm bending my razor, telling you guys not to do that. Okay, looking from the front. I'm going to come around the other side and make sure that the tape is at the right level on both sides. I feel like I need to come up just a little bit over here. Making sure it's as symmetrical as possible. That's the goal. Symmetrics. There we have it. I'm going to show you one last thing. We cut a number 3 on the top of Tito's head. And I think we did a good job as far as making sure that there's no hair there. But just in case, you can always take a number 2, open it up, and just go over it. Just make sure. And then lastly, I'm doing my checks and balances. I'm just taking certain guards and putting them in the areas to make sure that there's nothing that's competing with the fade. Once again, the greatest thing about the method is I know where to put these guards. I know that this is my 1.5 area, my 1 area, my half area. By this point, I'm so familiar with Tito's haircut, and I'm so familiar with these sections that I know exactly where to apply the guards to make sure that there's nothing there. I'm going to just try the 0 one time, and then this is me being a little bit of a perfectionist. And the last thing that I want to do is when I take the cape off, I want to make sure that there's no hairs here underneath the ear. And then there we have it. This is a great haircut method, precision. We use the control method on the beard. You can use these methods not only on the haircut, but you can also use them on the face. Next week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing another great haircut method. We're going to be doing speed. A great haircut method, speed. Hopefully you learned something today. What I'd like you to do is make sure that you subscribe to FadeFlix. Make sure that you hit the bell to make sure that when we do upload something that you can get a notification of our educational program. Make sure that you follow FadeFlix. Make sure that you follow our sponsors. Make sure you follow our sponsors, and make sure that you hashtag a great haircut method and FadeFlix Live, because we want to do our shout outs all the time. We're actually going to do those at the end of the show. And we're also going to have giveaways. Hopefully we can have them every week. We can continually have these giveaways based upon who's hashtagging and who's showing the support to FadeFlix. Make sure that you share it with your friends, other barbers, and let them know what we're trying to accomplish and what you learned. And let us know if you'd like to send us a message on YouTube or on Instagram. You can simply do that. You can reach me at HumblytheGreatest. You can reach also FadeFlix Live. And we'll be sure to get back to you and let you, hopefully we can answer your questions. Remember, next week we're going to be doing a different haircut method, a great haircut method, speed. And we really would like for you to be able to join us. Make sure we want to give thanks to FadeFlix for having me. I want to give thanks to the entire crew that has taken their time this evening to be here to bring this to you. And we'd also like to give thanks to our sponsors, Celebrity Barbershop, True Blue Inc., and all others for being a part of this vision that we have. We hope that we're providing something for you that is helpful. If you have any suggestions, please give us, please contact us. And also, if you'd like to also be a part of our sponsorship program, then contact us as well. So this is what we have, Great Haircut Method Precision, and we hope you join us next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week.